Welcome to Corbin's Coasters and More. Today I am going to give you some tips and tricks for visiting Cedar Point. And these are especially for if you live far away to drive in. There are a lot of things to know that will help you on your journey, but trust me, it's worth it. If you love roller coasters, Cedar Point is literally heaven on earth with easily the best coaster lineup in the country. So here are my tips on Cedar Point's transportation, hotels, and eats. Tip number 1. How to get to Cedar Point. Cedar Point is not the easiest place to get to unless you live within driving distance. So if you live within 7 or 8 hours of Sandusky, truly the best way would be just to drive, even if it seems far away, unless you want to take a Greyhound. There is a Greyhound station in Sandusky, but that's 4 miles from the theme park still. The closest commercial airport is Cleveland Hopkins, or CLE. From there it's about 60 miles. If you're going to leave from Cleveland, you may be able to rent a car for your trip, but since that wasn't an option, as I would have wanted to drop the car off in Sandusky, where there are no car rentals. Likely, with the current state of car rentals, your cheapest option will be to take an Uber or Lyft from Cleveland Airport to Sandusky, which for me was about $50. There can be surge rates, and when I was monitoring the apps before going, I regularly saw this price closer to $100. Also, be sure to tip your driver extremely well, as they likely live closer to Cleveland than to Sandusky and will have to spend more time and money to get back home. Also know that they could have turned your ride down and you could have been left waiting for hours at the airport for a ride, which is another possibility you'll have to think about. Trust me, it's worth it, but it is a pain in the ass. Tip number 2, night before the park, where to eat and drink. The Thirsty Pony is probably my favorite bar anywhere in the country, and it has always been my go-to when taking a trip to Sandusky. It is a touristy bar with tons of regulars that are local. Ohio literally has the nicest people in the world, and if you sit at the bar, you will have a conversation with the people around you. Buckeyes aren't afraid of talking to strangers. That's just the first thing to love about this place, though. At this bar, they have OTB, so you can bet on horse races, you can play Keno, and you can buy and redeem scratch-offs and quick plays from the Ohio Lottery. They have a family-friendly dining area and a full-size bowling alley, and they have very reasonably priced food and drinks, with daily specials except for Fridays and Saturdays. The drinks are poured strong here, and the cocktail list is extensive and creative, and you can actually get your drink in a guitar that actually makes sound, and a leg-shaped glass with fishnets on it, or you can get a tower of beer to share. And they have a local beer selection, not just your normal touristy beer list. The food is bar food, hamburgers, wings, appetizers, but it is really high quality bar food. While I was visiting this time, I visited twice and I got Southwest egg rolls, potato skins, and the Western burger. Everything was delicious, everything tasted fresh. One of the cool things about the Pony is they now have to-go drinks, basically adult Capri Suns, for you to carry back to your hotel. The Thirsty Pony is connected to the Holiday Inn Express and about a 3-minute walk from Cedar Point Express. The other options off Peninsula include Quaker Steak and Lube, which is another bar food chain that you find all over Ohio, pretty good, and McDonald's. So that makes the Thirsty Pony an even better option. Can't recommend this place enough. Tip number 3, transportation fails. So I am currently out here at the Cedar Point Express Hotel, actually waiting on a taxi because, believe it or not, you cannot get an Uber or a Lyft in Sandusky, Ohio. This 2021, this is not being filmed 10 years ago, but just so you know, I put a list of the taxi companies that the hotel gave me. If you don't rent a car here, you have to get a taxi because you also can't walk over the bridge because legally it's closed to pedestrians and Cedar Point's on an island, so there's no other way to get there other than calling a taxi. So I had a Lyft scheduled at 8:20. That didn't happen. And then 30 minutes ago, the taxi said he'd be about 20 minutes. So hopefully, eventually, I get to use at least a little bit of my early admission. Tip number 4. That's right, it's not even a private cab, and the minimum fare is $7 per person. And the driver casually told me that, good thing you didn't come later. Once the park opened, it costs more. Mind you, it's a 2-mile trip. And again, it's literally illegal to walk over it. The taxi took 45 minutes to get to my hotel after quoting me 20. The van smelled like cigarettes, and there were no markings on the outside of the van except for a sticker in the window with the company's name, Squeaky Wheels. At the end of the day, to get back to the hotel, I had to again call a taxi since there was no rideshare availability. My phone was dead, and guest services did let me use their phone, but again, I was just left waiting an indefinite amount of time by the flagpole outside, hoping I'd notice a barely marked van. For the return trip, I ended up using AM/PM Taxi Company. It's pretty much the same experience and the same price. Tip number 5, eating at the park. In the 4 years since I last visited the point, they've really done a lot to improve their food selection, and many of their locations are more reminiscent of a major national park like Disney or Universal instead of a Six Flags or Cedar Fair park, which they are. They've modernized the look and the offerings, including a barbecue restaurant with live music, a fancy grilled cheese shop, and a gourmet mac and cheese stand. The only place I ate in the park that was a long-standing staple, Chicky and Pete's, a dine-in sports bar near Valraven in the Blue Streak. I really liked the cheesesteak I got, and the famous crab fries with cheese sauce are worth going for. Not only were the prices reasonable, but $11.99 for a cheesesteak is less than I usually pay at a local cheesesteak restaurant, and the quality was A+. They also have options like Famous Dave's and TGI Fridays just outside the park but still on the peninsula, as well as a steakhouse in the Breakers Hotel. Also, don't skip the candy store. Cedar Point has always had some of the best fudge anywhere, and they sometimes have special flavors themed to rides. When I went, they had a Valraven fudge flavor. Such a perfect way to end the day. Tip number 6, staying on property. So there are 3 hotels owned and operated by Cedar Point that are currently open, and 2 of them are on property. As I've mentioned, I stayed in the Express Hotel, and I'll leave a link in the review of the hotel in the description, or you can click here and go directly to it. The Express Hotel is not on property, does not have a shuttle, and soda in the vending machines is $4.50 as if it was on property. They do have a gift shop, a decently large pool, and basic accommodations, and it's next door to the Thirsty Pony, which I like. But if you can stretch your budget just a bit, I'd say especially for a 2 or 3 day trip, it's possibly worth staying on the peninsula in either Breakers or Lighthouse Landing. Lighthouse Landing is more for families, as you get a rather large cabin by the lakefront with easy access to the water park and maybe a 5-minute walk to Cedar Point. But the Breakers is their main resort on property. This is a historic hotel and has been there in some way for over 100 years. It just had renovations, and I've heard the rooms are nice. There's a beachfront pool with easy beach access. Not that you'd want to walk onto it or go in the lake water, but you know. It's literally connected to Cedar Point with a private entrance too, just for hotel guests. And if you stay at any of their 3 hotels, they come with 1 hour early entrance. And if you're staying at Express, parking is free both for the hotel and the park. I know this has been wordy and maybe not super entertaining, but most of this is stuff I did not know and wish that I did before going. I always driven to the park when I lived in Indy, and this was my first experience having to fly there without my own car. So if you have any questions or comments, please share them with me in the comment section below. Share this with anyone you know who is thinking about going to Cedar Point, and please subscribe. I do really enjoy making this content, but it's so much more worth it when more people watch. In a couple of days, I'm going to post part 2, tips and tricks in the park for Cedar Point, so click the notification bell and you can be among the first to watch. Thanks for watching Corbin's Coasters and More.